It is Sunday, March 26th, and you're listening to Depressed on the Coaching, Culture, and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network, an affiliate of Dog Pound Radio.
Look at you now, you're soaring through the air. Look all around, you just don't seem to care. Look at you now. Just look at you now. I gotta channel your energy to fulfill my own prophecy, because you have your own destiny, and that's been a test for me. I feel like I'm coasting through life. All the challenge coming at me is life, with question hunting what I strive for in this world as sharp as a knife.
All right, if you like that song, it's written by Peyton Banks, my son. Look at you now. It's on Spotify. You can follow Peyton on there. It's truly amazing. First off, God bless that I would be up so early on a Sunday morning. I wake up at 4:15. I get in the shower. I start my routine of a morning, did a little exercise, and you know what? Now is the time for me to look at, part one of a series that we'll be looking at, which is your mirror's reflection of you. And, I've got several things that I'm going to discuss today, but, as a coach, and my players will attest, I always preached, any time that we were getting ready for a tough week on the gridiron or on the court, that you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to, first off, it goes a little bit even deeper than that. First off, you have to love yourself before you can attain the goals that you're looking for. I mean, whether it's depression or anything like that, or anxiety that's affecting you, you have to find a way to have a coping mechanism that's going to help you be able to strive past and be able to improve yourself. And again, what I preached is that you got to look at yourself in the mirror every morning. And you got to say, you know what? Today is going to be the best day of my life. Okay, I'm going to look forward. I'm going to be in the now. I'm not going to look in the past, all these situations that are dragging me down. I'm not going to even look in the future a whole lot, because we have to focus on today in order to really create a path of success. So it's important when I get up to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm going to be a better person today than I was yesterday. I'm going to strive to, to get more done, to not waste my time, and to learn, to continue to learn on a daily basis. And again, here this is coming from a 50-year-old man who's been in the education ranks well over 20 years and coaching even longer than that. And I think it's important that, to foster that action that we're always learning. We're always trying to become better people. And I choose to be a better husband, father, grandfather, teacher, coach, person. And the list can go on and on. But today, I found an article that was titled, How to Love Yourself, 15 Tips for Developing Healthy Self-Love. Now, when we look at this, again, our mirrored reflection is our reality. If we get up in the morning and we're like, oh my gosh, I hate my job. Oh my gosh, I really do dislike this person that I'm looking at in this mirror. Well, that's going to start you off on a negative connotation of the day. And in reality, we have to figure out how we can start loving ourselves before we can put out that love into the world, which if we all can do this, at least take a 7-day challenge. Again, today is March 26th. When we come back in a week, we'll say Palm Sunday, the 2nd of April, we're going to come back with a different reality, a new you. And we're gonna try this positivity each morning. Again, sometimes it's difficult. For example, there have been a plethora of times that I've looked at myself in the mirror and I've like, man, I really dislike who this person is. This person is wasting their time. They're not only wasting their time, with all these technological devices and things like that, but they're not learning anything. And, historically, as a history teacher, the history has a tendency to repeat itself. So you have to be careful. So I challenge everyone in this week, as we get a little bit closer to Easter, to become a better you, to learn to love yourself, because that's truly what God has in store, is He wants you to love yourself so you can promote that love and make the world a more loving world. Anyway, I really like the explanation here, and if you get a chance, this website is choosingtherapy.com, how to love yourself. It's an article. You can Google that and find it. It was published February 1st, 2021 and updated on March 17th, 2023. And they typically state this: what is self-love? Unlike narcissism, self-centeredness, or ego, self-love involves having a healthy relationship with yourself and embracing your full self, including your strengths and weaknesses, triumphs and challenges, successes and mistakes. Self-love involves a healthy and stable self-concept that is based on your own ideas, observations, and values rather than on others' opinions and judgments. Last week we talked about how only God judges. Okay, why do we get in that proponent where we're constantly judging? And again, we're all our worst critics, right? It's amazing. Well, anyway, this article that I found this past week has 15 strategies that can develop self-love. Number 1, identify and embrace your strengths. We all have differing strengths. For example, I've learned over the years that sometimes my lingo and my voice etiquette, my ability to coach and to get people to go past their comfort level and conquer their goals is something that I was pretty decent at. I always contemplated, what I was going to do in this life, whether it was going to be, to preach the Word of God, or whether it was going to be to coach, whether it was going to be to teach. Where in reality, when I realized that my goal in life is to be a better person each and every day, that changed things. So I was able to embrace my strengths. And that's why I have this podcast, Depressed, on the Coaching Culture and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network, which is in a Dog Pound Radio affiliate, to basically begin to nurture self-love. Okay, to be able to conquer anxiety, to be able to conquer this thing called depression. So, again, it says identify and embrace your strengths. Begin to nurture self-love by countering your inner critic and identifying your strengths, talents, and positive traits. Write it down. List it. You will not be disappointed. By focusing on positive aspects of yourself instead of dwelling on what you perceive as faults, you will begin noticing that you may have many positive qualities and strengths and begin to use these in your daily life. This will help you gain confidence in yourself and your abilities. And that's important. Routines, qualities, strengths, utilize them. Whether it's, the arts or sports or lifting or, just the ability to gab and be there as a sounding board for people, your peers and things like that. Number 2, it says work with a therapist, especially if you're struggling. Mental health professionals exist to help people work through all types of challenges, including low self-esteem, low self-worth, or a negative concept. In the education realm, we're gifted with guidance counselors, teachers, educators. That, believe it or not, there's going to be people out there that say that these people don't have your best intentions. I think that's garbage. Anytime that lawmakers promote, their ability to jump into a classroom, I dislike that. But anyway, if you cannot find a mental health professional. There are a plethora of people out there, including online. 3, develop mindful practice. So what is this? Mindfulness is a meditation practice that involves training your mind to be more present, aware, and engaged in the here and now, rather than distracted or wrapped up on thoughts, whether it be in the past or in the future. And, as I continue to write my book, about overthinking, this really strikes a tune. And meditation, folks, it's a practice that's been in the Bible for years. And again, if you would like, I can preach those, connotations, but it's important. And again, I think routine is super important. Again, to have that reflection in the mirror saying, hey, this is going to be the best week possible. Get a little bit of exercise, start reading a little bit more, wake up earlier, get your mind right. All of these things are important. So some of the mindfulness practices that can help improve self-love include loving kindness meditation. Okay, get rid of self-critical thoughts. Rain. This is a concept, rain, that was originally created by a Buddhist teacher, Michelle McDonald, says developed by psychologist and author Tara Branch. This technique uses mindfulness. Recognize your thoughts, feelings, accept them, investigate them with curiosity, and nurture them. In Christianity, we do the same thing with prayer. To sit down and to basically be able to put things out at God's doorstep to be able to walk through. 4, keep comparisons in check. And again, this is tough. This is something that I struggle with almost on a daily basis because, the first thing that I want to do in the morning is, number one, get a little bit of caffeine. Okay, I'm just like everybody else, to get awake and do those sorts of things to be able to calm the mind, but actually it increases the mind for whatever reason. To get in a little bit of exercise, but then I go right to social media. And, am I fostering a good reality when I'm going right to social media and checking in with those comparisons with other people's lives? Comparing yourself to others is a normal but dangerous habit that can undermine self-love. Everywhere you go, you see and evaluate others in ways that make you feel less than, sparking your inner critic to point out your shortcomings or flaws. You might find yourself making comparisons when you're on social media, watching TV, or you're just caught up on your thoughts. You got to be careful of that. And they've got 4 things here that are pretty important. Self-monitor. Increase your awareness of this tendency and catch yourself. When you are negatively comparing yourself to someone else, stop. Redirect. Once you catch yourself in a negative self-comparison, redirect your thoughts to something else. Reverse. Most of the time, you're comparing yourself to someone in a way that emphasizes what you feel or you lack. Looking for things to be grateful for can help you reverse this and find ways to appreciate what you have. Then zoom out. Understand yourself in context by zooming out of the situation to consider yourself, your feelings, your motivations, and needs, and consider how these factors factor into your choices and actions. This zooming out, I think, is pretty important. Like, for example, when I'm feeling down in the dumps or feeling this negativity in the comparisons, sometimes I go for a walk and I exercise. I stick on some music. I do those sorts of things. But everybody's going to be a little bit different in how they're going to be able to self-monitor this. You can always go back and check that mirror and reflection every day, like at noon. Check in with yourself. Am I truly learning? Am I truly better? Am I truly putting out positivity to the world? It's important. Number 5, set healthy boundaries. I think in today's social media age, we don't do a very good job at that. So let's talk about this. This is from Jennifer Shapiro Lee. Okay, a big part of self-love is understanding our boundaries and learning when to say yes and when to say no. She tells clients when someone asks you to do something, you can categorize it into one of three options. I have to do this, I should do this, I don't want to do this. This way you can see what you really want and how to spend your valuable time in taking care of your own needs and well-being. Again, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the teeth with this mirror context. Until you can have self-love, it's going to be real difficult to be positive and be loving into the world. 6, set small, tangible goals and follow through. Write them down. List it. How can you become a better person by just stating you're going to be a better person? You have to write that down and you have to check it off. According to Emily Griffin, following through on goals and intentions is very helpful in building self-worth. When we make promises and do not keep them, we are learning to distrust ourselves. How many times have you made a commitment and right at the last minute you're like, I really don't want to go, so you tell a white lie? Don't do that. Okay? Follow through on your goals and take yourself outside of your comfort level. When we do follow through on promises, we feel proud and fulfilled, which boosts our mood and makes us feel like we are reliable to meet our own needs, even though we're meeting other people's needs in the process. Make these goals small and tangible and ensure yourself to follow through, to be able to pass it, to be able to check it off. Too many times, as an overthinker or as somebody that's really critical of your own self, you look in that mirror and you're like, man, the road, or you're setting goals that are unattainable. Things are outside your control. 7, write down your accomplishments and what you're proud of. Because what this will do is this will allow you to find your positives in your interactions in society to be able to become better. Make a list each night of your progress and accomplishments. And, I've seen it, whether it's on social media or the books and articles that I've read over the last few months over positivity and being able to get out of a rut, is you have to celebrate the small gifts and accomplishments that you've made so you can see progress, and to write it down. When you write something down, you can attain it. And you should be proud of these lists. So they state this from Emily Griffin. Make a list each night of your progress and accomplishments. We are wired to focus on negatives and what we did not do right. So this exacerbates negative self-talk and can lead to feelings of hopelessness. When we train our brain to focus on small bits of follow-through and change, we are building a strength of the neurotransmitter connectors that can make us feel hopeful. Some examples of this could be not to react in anger to someone, keeping boundaries and turning off emails at a certain time, taking a walk, disconnecting from social media earlier than usual. Okay, those are things that you can do to make your life better. I mean, let's be frank. How many times have you turned on Facebook or the news or Twitter or Snapchat and something bad's going through? Okay? It happens. Number 8, let go of shame and be your authentic self. We are all different. So why be something that you're not? And God says this, man, that to be who you are because you are made perfect in the glory of God. Diane Greer reminds us that part of self-love is to let go of shame and learn to live authentically. When we hide parts of ourselves, believing we have to keep secrets and hide feelings of shame, it makes self-love extremely difficult. Bringing these feelings of shame to the light and sharing all parts of ourselves with those we trust can allow us to free ourselves and feel more compassion for others and ourselves. As we bring light to these dark places, we free ourselves to love our own unique selves, just as we are. We start to interact in more authentic ways, which begins an amazing process of learning self-love. And we see this all the time, especially with us overthinkers. I mean, we thought of the worst possible outcomes even before we've hit it. So, let go of shame and be your authentic self. 9, love yourself unconditionally, no strings attached. Many people have certain conditions they place on self-worth, and these determine whether they love or accept themselves, which can change from situation to situation. Haley Schaefer states the following: these fluctuations in self-love can often be explained by external circumstances. We feel good about ourselves when we meet a goal and receive praise, and bad about ourselves when we make a mistake, feel insecure, or let someone down. So we have to learn to forgive ourselves. And I do this, ladies and gentlemen, by putting my issues at God's doorstep and saying, you know what, Lord, I trust you. I will walk in the path that you're going to set in place. And again, this was a very tough reality to learn. But when I did that, man, amazing things are happening in my life that I couldn't possibly imagine 3 months ago. So love yourself unconditionally, no strings attached. 10, practice daily affirmations. Kelly O'Sullivan, she states, one of my favorite tips to start building more self-love and confidence is by doing daily affirmations. Try writing out 3 affirmations starting with I am, I can, I will. We can, we must, and we will get the job done. There are 3 aspects that I always tell my athletes or my students. And man, this is awesome. Daily affirmations. Make it happen. 11, carve out time for the things that feed your soul, whether it's music, whether it's, working out, whether it's reading. You have to have a little bit of alone time and carve out things that make you feel good, because this will take your mind off a lot of issues. 12, learn and practice what works for you, because we're all different. What works for me might not work for you. But you have to write this stuff down in order to learn. Okay. Ashley Stuck, she reminds us that it is difficult to love yourself because you were never taught how to love yourself in a healthy way, and you don't know what you don't know. We're not born with the innate ability to walk or talk. We have to learn those skills, and much like anything else, we have to learn to love each other. We have to learn the process of how to do that. 13, forgive yourself for past mistakes. And again, I utilize, God. Forgive me for my sins or past mistakes, my transgressions. I'm giving that away. That works for me. 14, interrupt your negative thoughts. If you're having an issue, interrupt it. Step away. Get a glass of water, go exercise, try to recontemplate, and do not repeat these self-critical or negative thoughts. 15, challenge your critical beliefs. Look at these following questions. Is this really true? Could this be an opinion rather than fact? What evidence do I have that it's not true? What would someone else say about the situation, and what would I say to someone in that situation? Again, this is a really great article. This is part 1 of looking ourselves in the mirror, and it's something that I think can really build. Now, this week's basically passage that we're going to look at, March 26th, a soprano sweet song. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, yet in my flesh I shall see God. That's from Job 19:25-26. A man that went through hell on earth. The trials and tribulations of Job, we can look at another time, but that's something that's pretty important. Passage and verses or questions for reflection and application for this week. Number 1, why does God allow us to go through tough times? I mean, that is a pretty Crazy situation. Job, who likely lived at least hundreds of years before Moses, was a blameless and upright man who feared God and turned away from evil. God had blessed him with 10 children and enough property, possessions, and servants to make him the greatest of all the people of the East. When Satan told God that Job was faithful only because God had blessed and protected Job, God allowed Satan to take away all of Job's blessings, his children, property, possessions, and even his good health. Yet Job continued to worship God. Much of the book of Job is a long conversation between Job and his 3 friends who believe that Job's suffering is a punishment for sin. When Bildad and Shuhit reiterates that God punishes only the wicked, implying that Job was wicked, Job responds that he will be vindicated or redeemed after he dies. Job did not know exactly how this would happen, but handled it. That's why, after singing the passage from Job, the soprano soloist, this line in 1 Corinthians 15:20, "For now is Christ risen from the dead, and the first fruits of them that sleep." We can join our song with confidence. Our Redeemer lives, and in the end will stand upon the earth. Why does God allow us to go through tough times? As a test, to be able to get past the past, to forgive ourselves, to not look too far in the future, to be able to look at ourselves and love ourselves as God intended. Question 2, when you are going through a tough time, how much comfort do you take in knowing that you have a Redeemer and you will win in the end? Do you tend to view your challenges from the external perspective, or do you complain about them and ask God to fix them? So at the end of the day, we have to write down, we have to understand why we are going through the situation that we're going through. And we have to take this challenge, basically as an external perspective and not as a complaint to God. When you see your Redeemer face to face, what will you ask him? Well, I'm going to ask, man, you put me through some trials and tribulations, and I'm not going to ask why, but I'm going to say, hey, was it to make me a better person? Was it make me to not only love myself, but to love you, the Creator? And again, anytime that you're looking at yourself in the mirror, especially this week as we challenge each other, how can we be a better person? How can we not waste the minutes, the seconds, the hours that we're going to go through in this next week? And let us write it down. Let us write down our goals, our aspirations, and any time that we feel when the pressure is just too much, that we can take ourselves away from that situation by looking back and saying, hey, man, this was my list of things to accomplish. This is what's causing my distress, my discomfort, my anxiety, my depression. So I'm going to push past that. I'm going to be able to attain things that are far greater for my well-being and learn to love myself. That's important. Love yourself. And then we can promote that love out there into the world. I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker. You can always catch the live if you click that. Follow it. Follow us on Facebook, Dog Pound Radio, on Twitter at CCA Culture. For everyone within the Coaching Culture and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network and the podcast Depressed, which is an affiliate of Dog Pound Radio, God bless you. Have the most amazing week possible. And again, I challenge you to look at yourself in the mirror and see your reflection as it is. Do not be disappointed in what you're seeing now, but the improvements that will come will change your life. God bless.
Just look at you.